Good evening. This sounds vaguely important. The EIB, the European Investment Bank, plans to leverage up to 1.4 billion euros in total investment up and down the space value chain. The Starship Booster 18 mishap might actually give Blue the edge for the landing deal. Nevertheless, despite that, SpaceX's latest valuation makes it the world's most valuable company because they're still looking at doing an IPO next year. SpaceX got environmental approval for Launch Complex 37, so they'll be coming to the Cape soon. I've got a couple more articles. They're kind of on the same thing, a little bit different track, where Congress warns NASA of consequences for the policy shortfalls with regard to China. Interestingly, local residents in Brevard County, I believe it is, are absolutely steamed over Blue Origin's wastewater permit application. Not all is joy at the launch site. Celestial locks in a Space Act agreement with NASA Glenn. UK Space Agency plunks down basically a 17 million pound rounding error to boost their own next wave of innovation. We'll see how far that goes. iSpace and JAL sign a lunar partnership agreement. 3 more countries sign Artemis Accords, and Luxembourg commits $265 million for its space programs. All this, and our guest legal expert, Michelle Hanlon. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. As you know, this show is sponsored by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do we do? A lot. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. And a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you just go to cscf.space/support, click that plainest day donate button. And I'm not going to talk about the tip jar this time of year. This is the time of year where people do big things, and I hope you guys will consider us when you're doing big things for the future. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. You do get a tax deduction, and while we're not saving puppies and kittens and hungry kids, which we should all do anyway, but we also in our world, in the space world, we give a lot of hope to a lot of people. We have, since the last 15 years, have introduced 98 companies to the world. And 98, we introduced 98 companies in the world, got over a third of them funded. So I think a lot of VCs and angel investors will like having a track record like that. And so I hope you support us. Thanks so much in advance. Now, my oldest, longest space friend, Michael Lane, who just got himself a new set of rosary beads, is here with us. Come on in, man.
Hey, how's things?
I can always find a new spiritual hook, can't I? There's always
you can. Yes, you can. You know the irony? All right, my mom is a hardcore Catholic. No joke. Not joking about that. She has made thousands of rosary beads and given them away. Thousands. It's part of her literal mission in life. Yeah. So that one actually hits pretty close to home, and I really laughed when I heard it. So thanks for that. That was good.
Oh, I'm always glad to do this. There's about 1,000 religions in the world. You can always find some iconography that you can throw in there. And so this running joke is going to be going on for another year, probably.
Oh, for sure.
Then I'll have to find some other way to, like mildly torture you.
Right.
It's all love, man. It's all love.
Speaking of that, yeah, of course it is. I know that. Absolutely. My mom is going in for another surgery tomorrow. She's totally fine, completely benign.
Good.
But this should be the end of it, right? She had a pretty spooky summer, but I think we're at the end of this. It's really good. We walked 3 miles last week. At 80 years old, that's kind of a big deal. So no, she's doing great, and so I probably won't be on the show on Thursday again, taking care of mom. But yeah, I'll be back the next week. Right
okay.
on.
Very good. My best to her, of course, and
thank
best
you.
of luck for the procedure. And absolutely, hi mom. Hey.
Hi mom.
Okay. I'd heard of this organization before, but I hadn't heard of it much. The EIB,
the
European Investment Bank, and all of a sudden they're launching a space tech EU finance program for the European space sector, and this is big. They want to go up and down the value chain, from upstream manufacturing and launch to downstream apps and services. And they'll work with commercial banks. They want to mobilize about 1.4 billion euros in total investment, but target small and medium-sized enterprises and mid-caps that face difficulties with bank finance otherwise. They're extending credit lines in EU member states, doing all sorts of stuff.
I don't know what this organization is. I had to look it up. It was the first I'd heard about this. We've talked about Germany a lot in the last couple of weeks with their 40 billion new dollars dedicated. That's on top of the EU's ministerial meeting that just committed. It was about a 30% raise. I'm sorry, 40% raise to $23 billion. Europeans are not playing here. They are putting real dollars into this thing. As I understand it, and this is not my area, so I might be getting this part wrong, but it seems like this European Investment Bank is kind of like the Import-Export Bank of the United States. Like,
okay,
so this billion and a half dollars is actually going to probably be matched or more than matched by other private financing.
That would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, so it leverages more private money coming to the table. So this might be about a $4 billion total, given how it operates. Like their $1.5 billion plus everybody else's participation. It's kind of wild. Kind of wish we were doing something like this. There was a guy a couple years ago that was really advocating for a plan like this, where the U.S. made real investments into companies. But yeah, it seems like Europe's kind of beating us to the punch on this one.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of money being thrown around in the Eurozone right now because they just want more and more independent efforts for themselves and less dependency on NASA and the U.S. So that's where this is all really coming from. So we're talking. I mean, all the money that we've seen floating around, we're talking about a couple billion euros right now going out there.
Right? Yeah.
Minimum. Yeah. And so that's gonna get bigger as time goes on.
Kind of wonder how many U.S. companies are going to wind up setting up shop in Berlin. It's very strong inducement. We're going to talk about Luxembourg in a few minutes, and then we'll come back to that topic. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So next up. What about this? Somebody's writing on Space Explored. Because Starship's Booster 8 did have a big mishap at the end of the manufacturing process, and so they basically skipped it and are fast forwarding Booster 19, and they hope to launch that actually a couple of weeks, I think. But they haven't confirmed the cause of the anomaly, and a lot of people are now saying that the more delays there are, Blue Origin is looking better and better. What do you think?
Yeah, we said almost exactly those words 2 weeks ago when it happened, right? A week and a half ago when it happened, that this does make an opening for Blue. Blue has just announced not just one orbital vehicle, but the plans for a second orbital vehicle that's substantially larger than New Glenn. And I do think that it's right. Like this, it was SpaceX's to lose, but they definitely have fumbled. And I never thought that Blue was going to be strong enough to catch them, but on this topic, they have a shot. And I've said very publicly lots of times, Blue is my favorite space company. So,
well, I think it's an important, like the paragraph later in there, it's an important point to make. While SpaceX has hit 49 of its HLS milestones and gotten a bunch of funding, it still does not have a rocket capable of getting to orbit yet.
Right.
That sounds vaguely important.
Yeah. Not quite the boondoggle that SLS is, but
no, never.
Kind of want to get them to get to orbit. That kind of does matter. It's surprising. I think it's an open invitation for Blue to step in. I'm not trying to bash on the SpaceX team. I love those guys. I really do. But it is competition is useful. It matters to everybody, and we need that in the system.
And they can take your bashing all day long, because in our next article, they are preparing a secondary share sale that would value the company at $800 billion.
Okay, I have some stuff to say about this, so you go first.
No, I think they could take. I think I could take your hit and kind of roll with it.
Right. All right, so let's go back in time to, it was probably 2013 or 2014. Said Students for Exploration and Development of Space was having their annual meeting, and it was in Champaign-Urbana in Illinois, University of Champaign-Urbana in Illinois. And Gwen Shotwell was there, and kind of a big deal. I mean, the line to meet her, the line to hand her your resume was like, football field long. And she just let it slip in that conversation that they were thinking about an IPO. Now, that was a long time ago.
Yep.
They didn't have the reputation that they have now. They didn't have the workhorse that they have now. And she was talking about an IPO even back then, which was a pretty interesting idea. And then fast forward, Musk goes on to announce his plans for Mars, and is like, there's no way that a board of directors and shareholders are going to let me go to Mars. They're not going to let me do that because that's not where the money is. And so they were going to do what Zuckerberg did and wait as long as they possibly could to go public. But now, fast forward, they've got thousands and thousands of shareholders. There's an SEC rule that says you got to go public when you get 5,000 shareholders. They've got to be near that number. So this is not a surprise, but it does beg the question if SpaceX gets to go to Mars. And I really do wonder if they're going to be able to do that if they've got a publicly traded company that has to answer to a board. I really wonder if they're going to be able to do that. So,
well, it's going to have to be Gwen doing that quarterly call, not Elon.
Exactly, right? Yep.
She's going to have to listen to all that shit.
Yeah. What I was surprised at, did you catch this in the article? They're talking about keeping Starlink in the IPO. There was rumor last year, or the beginning of this year, I should say, there was rumor this year about separating it off and having its own IPO for Starship. Sorry, not Starship. Starlink.
Yeah.
I kind of think that's a better move, actually.
It could be. It could be. Consider also, though, the other side of the IPO is like you and I aren't going to make any money off that IPO. Most of the profits have been made by the time the IPO happens.
Right.
You know, the 95% of it has already been claimed by somebody.
Well, at $800 billion, how much stuff do you have to send to orbit? How much stuff do you have to beam back down to justify an $800 billion valuation? Now, there was some pushback. Even Musk himself said on his platform that 800 seemed high. Listen to this. I was pretty surprised by this. All right, so in 20. All right, so I'm just going to read some of this verbatim here. It's a long, so just bear with me here. The valuation of SpaceX has seen dramatic growth since its founding in 2002. Initially, the space technology company was valued at just $27 million. I would like to get my valuation at $27 million at the year that I start. We'll start there. All right. By 2015, after major investments from Google and Fidelity, the value had climbed to around $12 billion. So that's when they're starting. 2015, 10 years ago, $12 billion. The rapid expansion of Starlink satellite constellation, along with successful rocket launches and contracts with NASA, fueled further growth. In 2019, the valuation of Elon Musk-led company reached $33 billion. So just 4 years later, almost tripled in value. A significant leap happened the next year in 2020 when major funding round pushed the valuation to $46 billion. So 15 billion leap, almost 13 billion leap in 1 year. The momentum continued into 2021 with a valuation of $74 billion in February, surpassing $100 billion by October. In 2022, the company's valuation was reported at $127 billion. The pace of growth accelerated even farther, with SpaceX valued at $150 billion in July of 2023 and $180 billion, $30 billion more in December 2023. Just 6 months apart is a $30 billion gain, and $210 billion by June 2024.
Yeah,
I don't know how you justify a 3x ROI in 15 months, but that's what they're not ROI 3x
valuation.
Yeah, 600 billion new valuation in just 15 months.
Here's the thing, and we'll see whether it's more tulip mania, euphoria type of stuff that goes into this. If they do this and they get that valuation, the risk they have is that might not last long, because if they miss their projections, if they fall back on a certain key milestone, like getting into orbit and doing a successful refueling, that valuation is going to go,
right.
very soon.
Right.
So it's a huge risky thing for them to do.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of people a lot of money really fast, so good on them for that. But I'm curious to see what happens with this. Everybody's talking about it, though.
Right. Okay, next up. And just a very brief thing. I guess SpaceX got their environmental approval for Starship at Space Launch Complex 37.
Yep.
So there's tons of information about where the launch pads will be built, but they are now allowed to launch up to 76 Starships per year. From that pad. Are you kidding? So up to 76 static fires.
Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah,
76. Not the wussy, small mom and pop shops that they've got with a Falcon 9. That's 76 Starships.
Yeah.
That's that's gonna be amazing.
I know, that's more than one a week.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Some of them should get to orbit,
What is it? 100 tons? 100 tons? No, it's more than that. It's 200 tons to orbit every week.
Yeah.
Every week, 200 tons. That's like a I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up. I think Garrison says that's about a battleship a week to orbit. I'm gonna have to verify those numbers.
Right. But yeah, I'll be able to see those from my front yard. I cannot wait.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. That is going to be an amazing future. I really love that.
Now, a couple of things that we have to move to that I just want to get in real quick for sure. A couple of things regarding what the Congress is now saying about different things. And somebody said there's a hearing, and a subcommittee member asked a panel of experts how NASA could maintain its global leadership in space over China in general. And the most stringent criticism came from, of course, Mike Griffin.
Right.
And he's saying he's saying the bottom line is that an architecture which requires a high number of refueling flights in low Earth orbit, no one really knows how many, uses a technology that's not yet ever been demonstrated in space, is very unlikely to work, unlikely to the point where I say it cannot work. So there's that. And there was another article piggybacked with that, but it's also in here too, that a deputy director of the Aerospace Security Project was saying that when you look at NASA authorization legislation, you have to look at it in a way where you're the genesis of an innovation ecosystem, the flywheel that powers national and economic security in a way that the PRC just can't match. And so they need to do a better job of holding themselves and their contractors accountable. And there's need to be, and if they fail to deliver on time and budget, we don't have any more room now for, okay, let's try again next year. There need to be consequences if we're going to succeed in this policy.
Yeah, it's a pretty great article. I definitely recommend folks read this. And, Eric Berger, the author, always gets to the heart of stuff. So this was really pretty interesting. There needs to be consequences. I agree. And, we just talked about how, yay, SpaceX, and yay, 70 launches of Starship a year. But at the end of the day, we got to get to the moon, and we're going to talk more about the space race here in a little bit, but I hope everybody's paying attention because that part matters. And the system that we have right now is teetering, and it doesn't look good right now. Not to me.
I threw this next one in just for fun. You can look at it on your own. You actually have a 3-minute video about it. The local residents in Brevard County are actually upset over a permit that would allow Blue Origin to dump wastewater into the Indian River. And obviously the county commission does not have the final say. It's up to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. They're claiming some of the water would be treated in a stormwater pond before being released, but of course not all of it. And I guess they had a big meeting, and several Brevard County residents were very fired up about that. They had a public comment section. That was the first mistake, because we're in an era where people are a little scrappy right now, and everybody's speaking up about everything right now.
Right.
And so I'll be interested to keep this story going and see what they actually end up doing. Of course, Blue Origin says this current permit ask is just to renew something that already exists. Apparently, they've been dumping processed and non-processed wastewater into Indian River for half a decade.
Right. Well, and they're not the only one. I am definitely the tree hugger on this call. But the tree huggers' batting average is not looking good, right? They lost in California with SpaceX launching there. The sea turtles are getting their ass kicked in Brownsville. There's been 3 different parks style lawsuits, fishing game, something like that. And they've all lost. So the environmentalists are losing this fight, and I'm sorry, but I have to weigh in on the side of the technology. So yeah, I get what people are mad about, right? I live in Washington State for a reason, but I don't think they're going to win this one.
Well, we'll have to see where that goes. So let's get back to space and money.
All right.
Celestial signed a Space Act agreement with NASA. Glenn.
I don't know this company. Do you know this company?
I don't know them either. They're a solar energy company, apparently, for space.
Okay.
And they're supposed to test the performance and resilience of ultra-thin silicon solar arrays in space environments. So basically, they're testing a new version of thin film solar and hope it's space hardened enough to actually do something.
All right, cool.
And Glenn was willing to work with them. So okay.
Yeah, that I mean, I do long for the days when we have a NASA Space Act agreement. So if they can get it, good for them.
Yeah,
I'll look it up. I'm gonna scroll into this and kind of poke around and see what these folks are up to. But
well, apparently, what they do, their breakthrough tech, they claim, is a silicon solar cell engineered for space to self-cure radiation damage under sunlight at operating temperatures as low as 65 degrees.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be built to withstand 10 years in a variety of destinations in space.
Well, given all the talk in the last couple of weeks, the last 2 months of data centers on orbit, that the secondary of values for that is going to be anybody who can build a better solar panel is going to win, because there's about to be a lot of money thrown at that problem.
Absolutely true. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
I think we only have time for like one more. I want to bring our guest on. So I'm going to skip the next one because it's the UK Space Agency invests 17 million pounds. And that's like a drop in the bucket compared to what everyone else is doing. But I thought this was important to note. I thought iSpace and JAL Group are signing a collaboration agreement for lunar transportation and operations. I thought that was wildly significant.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give them a shout out and nothing else.
Yeah. iSpace has an American branch based in Denver, I think. They're definitely one of the companies to watch. We've been watching them for a while. I thought they were more interested in debris, so I was a little surprised at this topic. And I was right. I thought that this was true before, but this is one of the Google Lunar X Prize teams.
Yep.
So they've been at this for a long time. I think 2007 or 8. So it's cool to see them kind of getting some traction and growing into something.
Yep. Absolutely. I don't
understand why Japanese Airlines JAL is involved. I don't really understand what that role is about.
Well, maybe you talk to Honda.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. That was what I was wondering. It's like,
you know what I mean?
And again, in the same way we talked about Germany earlier, Japan also put a new $8 billion into the sector for the commercial sector. So I wonder if this is some of that ripple effects.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
And last thing, it's just 10 seconds. I guess Hungary, Malaysia, and the Philippines have now signed the Artemis Accords.
Yay.
I don't know how many that makes now, maybe 58 nations now or 60.
Yeah.
So, there we go. There we go with that. That all goes away. Let's bring on our guest tonight, and she's going to bring in something. We talked about this before the show, and I can pretty much guarantee you this is something that you've never heard anywhere else. So that's why I'm loving to do this. And it's her second visit with us, Michelle L.D. Hanlon. She's both a space and a drone lawyer, and she has a lot of things to say about her MBA program, which she's doing. And there's also other things she's working on, and there's this interesting topic. We're gonna bring her in right now. Michelle, come on in.
Hi there.
Hey, here she is. How you doing?
Great. How are you guys? What an
Good.
interesting evening.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, there's always great news. Like this show is all about that intersection of money and space, and we just try to track what's going on. There's a lot, right? I mean, literal billions are moving into this industry all the time. Yeah.
I will say, because obviously listening to you guys, and obviously I'm a lawyer and a professor, so I could talk forever on so many things. But I did want to say, because something really interesting came up at one of the working groups things I was participating in, because we do get a lot now with the ethics of space exploration. How much are we destroying the Earth? If we're going to have 72, heavy rockets going into the orbit and they're coming back, what are they doing to the atmosphere? And so, obviously the counter argument is always, well, the world looks very different today than it did in 1700, and our lives are tremendously better. So we have to find that balance. But somebody else brought up, we are the only species on Earth that actually cares about other species and tries to save other species on this planet. And that's something we don't think about. The turtles, I'm not saying we shouldn't be responsible, but I'm saying, we have as a species done things that no other species has done. And so we have to pat ourselves on the back sometimes, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we're not always all evil and rapacious and self-serving.
Exactly.
Not every day.
Well, but I'm saying other species, the one thing people always say, other species aren't destroying the planet. Right. And I say, well, you know what? Tell that to my dad, who is like in a perpetual battle with the beaver that keeps cutting down his cherry trees. I mean, so.
Fun. All right. So you were on the show before, so give us just a quick origin story. How did you get here? What do you do? What's your role? I know you as the professor, but also for all mankind. So give that piece of it, and then let's go off into our main topic here.
Okay, I'll be really quick. So origin story, easy peasy, Star Trek, right? I mean, after seeing Lieutenant Uhura and Captain Kirk, who wouldn't want to go to space? And I'm an attorney. I was not good at math, and so way back in the old days, if you weren't good at math, you could not go anywhere near space and science. So I was a business attorney for 25 years. And then did a pivot, had the joy of going back to school when I was 50, and became a space lawyer. And I started a NGO called For All Moonkind. We're a permanent observer to the United Nations now. We are the only organization in the world with one specific mission to protect cultural heritage in outer space. And I also run the Air and Space Law program here at the University of Mississippi, where we have a JD, an LLM, a JD concentration, a graduate certificate, and we are introducing in August a Master of Science in Air and Space Law. And in my newest role, I'm so thrilled to be a part of the University of Central Florida MBA program, and they have a fantastic Master of Business in Space, basically, space business. And I think that is I don't know if you've been to UCF. I encourage everybody to go because the campus is amazing. They really truly are space university. They're so lucky, to be right in the backyard of Canaveral and Kennedy. And I'm just really excited. I'm really, really excited about all of this movement to get normal people who aren't engineers and scientists into space.
Yep. Let's talk about kind of all three of those things. Your program at Ole Miss, but also the new masters that you're creating, but also the MBA program. I'm going to have a couple editorial comments about that. Like that's new, right?
Yeah.
I'm an ISUer. I'm a graduate of International Space University. I love that program. I think it's the pioneer that kind of allowed a lot of other people to do really amazing things. But about 2015 or so, ISU wanted to create an American campus. And they put out a bid, And I was the Alumni Association president for ISU at the time. And so I scrambled to put together a Seattle team. Another group put a team together in LA, another one in New York, another one in DC, another one in Florida. And Andy Aldrin got the contract down in Florida. So he did that for a little while. But ISU then pulled the plug, and it pissed off a bunch of us Americans, and they did not set up a campus here in the United States. But what they did do by pissing us all off was create their own competitors. So the Colorado School of Mines program came into being. University of Washington ramped up theirs. Arizona State ramped up theirs. Florida, we're going to talk about it, ramped up theirs. And our bid, the Seattle bid, was a book that was 300 pages long. And
I was on that team, by the way.
You were on it.
I did too. So I was just as furious.
Yeah.
When
furious.
Andy got it.
And our bid was to create an MBA program for space professionals. That is what our bid was. Only thing in the world. And so when Florida comes online and Dr. Autry and all of your friends come online, holy cow, I was all in. I think that is literally and actually 10 years overdue. ISU missed the boat. The Central Florida program calls themselves America's Space University. ISU was International Space University. We're like, well, America first. So tell us about the program. Tell us about your role in it. I definitely endorse what I know of it so far. I wanted to be a student, so I was going to apply, and I was roundly rejected for other reasons. But yeah, tell us about the program. What's your role in it?
So it's an asynchronous online program. And so it's really literally something you can do anytime, anywhere. And I know that scares a lot of people off because I know one of the huge benefits of ISU was that you sort of spend time all together on a campus, very concentrated. We are able now to sort of replicate that kind of bonding through Blackboard and through virtual networks and so forth. So the beauty of that is that you get people who aren't able to travel involved as well. And so by having these online asynchronous programs, you are broadening and diversifying your audience. And I don't mean that in a DEI way. I mean that in just every possible way, right? This is really opening up opportunities for people who thought, oh, I could never get to Houston or Strasbourg, right? And so that's it. Then we're looking at Greg Autry and Zahira Lee, who started the program at Arizona State. And have now gone over to UCF. And their program has always been brilliant. I mean, Greg is incredibly well connected. He brings the most incredible guest speakers into his classrooms, virtually and in person. He gets the best tours. And the important thing about the UCF program is that Greg and Z are really committed to the networking aspect of it. They love their graduates. They take care of their graduates in a way that I've not seen in any other graduate program. So my role, of course, is to teach everybody about space law and why you should care about space law, even if you're just focused 100% on making profit and your business, because there are so many gaps in space law that businesses need to learn how to, and I'm going to use the word exploit because, it's like when you think about taxes, and I at least laugh because everyone's like, well, you got out of paying this tax by finding a loophole, right, to the billionaire. Well, of course you do. If there's a loophole, you're kind of dumb not to take it. I mean, So that's what I'm here to teach.
Yeah, it's there for a reason. Yep.
Right, and use the loophole, and I want to protect cultural heritage on the moon. I probably want to protect other things on the moon, around the moon, but I am 100% for development. So the point is, look, we are on this incredible threshold, right? We have this 17 articles of a treaty that are the framework. And there are so many gaps and holes in that, and we need to start filling them the way we want to see them filled. And there's a real role for commercial space in that, because we know businesses, private companies, you talked about iSpace, are going to get to the moon either with or before states do. So they are going to be making norms and building and filling in those gaps. And so I think it's really important for private companies, for business people to understand exactly what they're dealing with from a framework standpoint. And that's what I'll be teaching at UCF.
Okay. That's very cool. One question before we move away from UCF is what's the difference between Atri and Zahir's program at Arizona State, which still exists? They didn't abandon that. They just got, other instructors. So what's the difference from the program that they pioneered there versus what they're pioneering here? What would you say if someone was going to make a choice between one of those schools, why should they choose one versus the other?
I see a 100% increase in support from the administration of the university at UCF than what we saw in Arizona. I can't even tell you the amount of support that they're being given by the big university administration, by the business school there, is incredible. I mean, I love Ole Miss. I love my school. We're still trying to, every day is a battle. Really, we're not out there. We're not little green men and women. There's, baseball is really a thing. Right. And I get it here. There's a lot of other issues we have to deal with here in Mississippi. Just a shout out to Wes and our graduate certificate student, Hottie Toddy, and first ever conference college football playoff. I got that right. Yeah.
There you go. I think it's time to bring this up, Michael, because we talked about this before the show.
Right.
And just that's a new twist on something I've never heard before. So we got to bring it up for the first time on this program. And you're the one who mentioned it. Yep. And so, because we had this little chat earlier about the Congress are getting involved and trying to warn about consequences and the threat of China. And you mentioned this one word that just got my ears perking up, and we call it the L word, lawfare.
Right.
How do you do that? What does that do with our China policy?
So
slowing them down. Apparently, you use lawfare to slow them down.
The problem is we're not engaged in lawfare. They've been engaged in lawfare on Earth and in space for decades, and we're just waking up to it. And the original concept of lawfare is very simple, right? Let's use the fact that they follow the law against them. And so, your classic example is putting your missiles in the civilian population, because the United States is not going to target that civilian population, even though the rockets are in there, right? And so that's the very first sort of most simple form of lawfare. Well, the Chinese have taken that to an expert level. When you think about what they have done in the South China Seas, and this is one of the reasons, what I do in Heritage, people kind of, scoff or roll their eyes or become very patriotic. Yeah, Apollo. But it's a real issue because what China's doing? They are a very old civilization. They send a lot of boats out all around the world, right? And when they find a shipwreck, they're like, oh, this extends our boundary.
At ours now. Oh.
Yeah. So from Beijing all the way to wherever you found that shipwreck, those seas are ours.
Those are historic territorial waters, right?
That's right. That's up to us. We find something near the Aleutians, we're grabbing that too.
Right. Exactly. And they're like, we were here 3,000 years before you were, so we know better, right? And then the Philippines takes them to arbitration. The arbitration awards everything to the Philippines, and China's like, what? Okay, yeah.
Right. Send me a battleship. Don't send me to court. Right. Exactly. They're like, so what? Yeah, not interested.
And so that is their concept. They're just, instead of sort of these very blatant, like, okay, here we are. They just keep creeping and creeping and creeping and creeping. And when you don't call them on it, it becomes a norm, right? So they're creeping. And that 9 dash line, all of a sudden, people are like, paying attention to it. We literally have to go and send our Navy ships through there to show, no, China, we're not accepting this. And so for every 9 dash line, there are 15, 20 other things the Chinese are doing that we're not even countering yet, right? And that's what we need to think about when we think about space. I was talking about the gaps in space law. Right now, when you think about going back to the moon, for example, and it is a race. Wake up, everybody! It's a race. And it's a race to the starting line. And if we're not at that starting line, we have a little bit of time. If China sends humans back before we do, we still have a little bit of time. But once they get their infrastructure there, we're done. And so we have got to continue to put our pedal to the metal, because there's something called due regard in the Outer Space Treaty.
Yeah.
You must.
That's a sentence. That's a phrase that means almost nothing to people that don't know, and it means everything to people who do. So dig into due regard for a second.
So we don't have a lot of restrictions on what we can do in space. Space freedom of exploration and use. You can't put weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons anywhere in space. International law applies. States can't claim territory. And you must conduct all of your activities in outer space with due regard for the corresponding interests of others. That has absolutely no legal meaning whatsoever. It means nothing. That is the crux, and that is the foundation of everything we're going to do in space, right? Due regard. So guess what? Think about what due regard means. It means being considerate. We have one case under the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea, which says due regard is a balancing test. So we're going to look at all of the circumstances, and lawyers love totality of the circumstances test because it's all gray and fuzzy, and and then when the judge rules against me, I'm just going to appeal because it's easy, and so it's a waste of money, and a waste and too much money going to lawyers. But imagine you're the first to the moon, right? And we know that there's issues on the moon with lunar dust, lunar regolith. We know it can be very damaging. So you get your little spacecraft and you build a little 3D printer functioning there on the rim and on one of the peaks of eternal light on the Shackleton crater. And then you're like, whoa, nobody come close. You're not here seeing what I'm seeing. If you come within 30 miles of me, you are going to ruin what I have, and that will not be
my experiment is lost, whatever I'm building, the infrastructure, and that non-interference rule that we all kind of take for granted is being exploited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't forget that 20,000-year-old crashed alien spacecraft in that crater. Yeah. That guy's trying to claim for himself under salvage law.
Yes.
That's the real deal right there.
Yeah. So I mean, this is something that, and when we talk about how China is advancing, and one of the things that I've been doing a lot of research into this, it's not just lawfare, right? It's this whole body of what they call cognitive warfare. So it's also psychological warfare, cognitive warfare. Okay. So law, psychology, and economics. And so
warn your mind. Yeah.
We all know what they do economically. Hey, we'll loan you the money. Oh, did you really, you couldn't pay back? Well, then we'll take over the land. But psychologically, they have a complete hold on their population. And why is that important? Because, we see here in our lovely chaotic mess of divisiveness, which is for what freedom is, they don't have that. They're a monolith. And when they do something, their 1 point whatever billion population is like, yay, China. When Chang'e 6 was on the far side of the moon to get the sample return, the claw left the character Zhong, which is the character for China, in the soil. And that went up on social media in China and just like blew the roof off of everything.
That's their Armstrong first footstep as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
And they have for the past few decades done a really good job of training their citizens to act just the way they want to. And and there's another, I know there's one more piece of that, and this is what I'm seeing at the United Nations. They have in the 8 years that I've been going to the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, China has gone from sort of making a statement every now and then to making a statement in every single opportunity to intervene. And all of their statements start with the same thing. We believe that space is a global commons, it's for everybody, yay, rah, and there's this spiel of course we think space is for everyone. And then, they don't. I mean, let's just be honest, but they're able to do that. And they don't have a citizenry that's going to call them on it. And this is what we need to worry about countering.
What it really raises the interesting question here by Dr. Doug Plata, who just joined us. He says, if China makes an unreasonable lunar claim, will the U.S. accept it? And if not, and U.S. exercises freedom of movement, will China risk war by physically defending their unreasonable lunar claim?
So I think this is a really interesting question, because the real question is, how would they defend it, right? I think we have a little bit of time to iron this stuff out, because certainly, although we're all going to be in the lunar South Pole, we're not going to intend to be right on top of each other. And those first infrastructure pieces that we send, although I understand China is now putting sort of defensive robotic capabilities on its space station, and no doubt whatever rovers or spacecraft they put there will have a defensive capability. I remind everybody that the moon shall be used exclusively for peaceful purposes, and you're not supposed to have any military things on there. So if China makes an unreasonable claim, the U.S. cannot accept it, right? We can't, because that spells the end of the future. And if not, and if the U.S. exercises this freedom of movement, it's going to end up in the court of public opinion, right? Look at Russia invades Ukraine. That was a violation of international law. What did we do? That's why it's really, the Artemis Accords are so important. And you mentioned we're now to 60 signatories, and China's building its own alliance, both by strong arming and through the International Lunar Research Station.
Because their endless Silk Road initiatives.
Exactly.
They're using that as their strong arm tool.
Yeah. It's gonna end up the two alliances against each other, and which one will win in the court of public opinion. And so that's going to be, I see Wes is saying the Philippines, they did just sign the Artemis Accords. And so it's going to be interesting to see, how that might play out in the South China Seas as well, because it's the poor Chinese fishermen, Philippine fishermen, who are getting water bombed by the Chinese.
Right. Explain a little about how you see the Artemis Accords playing out, right? Some people think they're just a PR stunt. Other people think they're really significant by building common law. Where do you stand on that?
So they are very significant for one reason, bar none. They created the impetus for the United Nations to create a space resources working group and this action team on lunar activity consultations. Okay, so what did the Artemis Accords do? They made the international community react, and so so they will always be really significant for that purpose. Now, the Artemis Accords themselves are a political commitment. What do? They reaffirm the Outer Space Treaty, but they try to fill in some of those gaps. And that's why I think it's going to be very, very significant. So what do we see with the Artemis Accords? We went from President Obama signing the Asteroid Act, saying if you extract a resource, you can own it, to, and that's not a violation of Article 2 of the Outer Space Treaty, to 60 countries signing a political commitment that agrees with that interpretation of the treaty. That is huge. That is significant. That is substantial. And so if we can get that same kind of movement about safety zones, another thing is orbital debris, cleaning up after yourself, then we'll keep seeing that. And of course, Section 9 is protecting heritage in outer space. And that if we can get some substance behind that, that will also be really game changing.
I noticed it was mentioned during all this that since a lot of us are going to be, we're trying to claim stuff, we're going to the South Pole of the moon, all of us, it's a big place, and there should be plenty of room for people to kind of make their claims and not run over each other. It just occurred to me, I just want to posit that, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to be had at the lunar South Pole. It's not evenly distributed by any means. There are going to be huge sweet spots here and there, and we got to figure. And so the real race is to figure out where those are and get there first.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
That's exactly right. I mean, we don't even know if any of it's extractable or if we'll be able to use it in any way at all. And so, what we're seeing is we're going to see a lot of staking out claims. I'm going to go there. You're going to see a lot of ventures, and not just one Chinese mission at building. Okay, we're going to build our fort here. No, there's going to be 10 or 12 spanning across this whole area. And it's going to start getting really small, really, really fast, because we don't know what's up there and we don't know how we're going to deal with it. The one thing that what we do know is that the United States is a lot more responsible than China, and China's going to take advantage of that. And so by that, I mean, maybe they're not going to care about heritage, or, maybe when we say, if you have a nuclear reactor, you have to clean up after yourself. Or we'll say, if you have a lunar orbiter, make sure it doesn't just bomb anywhere onto the moon. And so it's going to be costlier for us. And those are the kinds of things that China is going to exploit against us.
So you said a minute ago about, peaceful uses in a lot of different ways. There has been rumor around Washington, D.C. that Trump is considering an executive order that will allow the U.S. military to do something with the moon. Can't confirm it. Can't even find the right source. But I've been seeing it because DARPA has been talking about doing something on the moon. There's question marks whether they can actually touch the moon, if DARPA can do that or not, because it's a military element. Any thoughts on that? Does an executive order allow DARPA to go to the moon?
Absolutely. Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty makes it very clear that if you are military personnel, you can still be on the moon. You just have to use your military personnel for peaceful purposes.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. Okay. So again, huge gap.
Does that include keeping the peace?
Yeah, exactly. What is?
What do you do? How do you do that?
Exactly.
A weapon of some kind.
It doesn't. Yeah. So what I hear most of is there's absolutely nothing barring the installation of a military installation in the orbit of the moon, right? Okay. And that can be loaded down with conventional weapons, whatever we want. Totally legal. You can send, of course, all of our early astronauts were military personnel.
Right, and all of China's are, yeah.
Outer Space Treaty was written when we only had, military astronauts. So the concept of sending the military to the moon is totally acceptable and totally fine.
Great.
And then it's just what they do there is where we start to get in the interpretation, and again, where we're going to see the lawfare, where China's going to be like, oh, they're not doing anything. Trust us. And the United States is going to say, oh, we're not doing anything, and the rest of the world is. And I'm sorry, but this happens, and I'm a political science major. The United States says something, and the world piles on because the world can, because that's what it means to be a Republican democracy. Anybody can say what they want, but when China does something, everyone's like, oh, tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. We got to stop tiptoeing.
Stop tiptoeing. That's
absolutely it. Now, while we've got a couple of minutes left, I'd like to get your view. We talked about this. What do you see the world looking like in 5 years, and again in 25 years?
So I'm a lawyer, not an engineer or a technologist. So my sons always cringe when I start a sentence that way. But they're both engineers. Yeah. So I would say
nuclear sub.
Well, he's out of the Navy. He's
okay.
They're aerospace and mechanical engineer, but they're both in space now. I mean, they're not in space, but they're both in space industry. But I would say 5 years, we're going to see, of 10, 15 missions working on the moon, robotic missions, not necessarily moving around the moon, but sort of just planted and picking things up and taking pictures. In 25 years, and this is more hopeful, I think that we will have a continuous human presence on the moon, the way that we have with Space Station. And my hope is that it will be 2 separate continuous human presences on the moon. I don't see that we're going to have a U.S.-China, détente in 25 years. But if we can have 2 separate lunar stations, I think that would be a huge advancement for humanity.
Huge. Right on.
All right. Michelle L.D. Hanlon, thank you so much for being on here. We're going to have you back again. One of these days, we're going to do a special show where it's like 90 minutes. We invite every lawyer that's ever been on the show.
Oh my God.
We have a lot of lawyers.
For like 90 minutes.
Right.
That should be.
90 minutes is enough for one lawyer, so be careful.
Yeah. 5 enter, 1 leave. There you go. How's that?
Right.
I'm betting on you, Michelle. I'm betting on you.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you so much for being here. Stick around. We'll have a chat after the show.
Thank you.
Lovely having you.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Okay. On Thursday, our own Morty Freeman comes back, regaling us with tales of his trip to Japan and other places in the world, and pitching his dream of the space elevator in our lifetime. That's going to be a fun one too. So on with that, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, this is Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.